Hello, welcome to another episode of You Are the Dream podcast. I am Judith Manriquez, and today we're going to be talking about the transition we're going through on the planet, as well as looking at the high-level energy and some of the new perspectives I've had over the last couple of weeks while having COVID. So, welcome back if you are coming back, and if you are new, it's happy to have you here. So I kind of took a little mini hiatus last week and did not post. And the week before that, I didn't do an audio, but did do a post because it's my first round with COVID. And I am absolutely struck by the way that this particular virus really makes us stop everything. I honestly could not function during the second week. So I couldn't think. I'm really happy to have all that coming back in. On top of that, I am in a beautiful soul quest with my mentor, and the stuff that's opening up for me is really spectacular. And some of that we're going to be covering today. So let's begin with addressing the obvious, which is we are in a massive transition on the planet. And you have heard me talk about sort of the higher vibrations that have been coming on the planet, because that's sort of been thematically what I've been talking about lately. However, we've never really looked at it from a deeper energetic patterned perspective. So that's what I'm going to do today. Now, we're going to start with the energy that we can see shared with us through astrology. And I'm doing this really high level. You saw a little bit of this in my last post where I was speaking about the retrograde in Uranus. Now, in this case, I'm going to go really much bigger picture. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is because it's showing us the movement of energy and what's available to us in terms of how we want to relate with it. So think of it like the weather. When you know what's coming in the weather, you know if you're going to go for a jog today, or if you need an umbrella, or if it's super, super hot and you're going to want to stay inside, or if it's super, super cold, or you're seeing cold come in and you need to change the tires on your car. There's just some things that we know to do when we know what's happening in our physical world. The same is true in our energetic world. So let's begin, and we'll go through these. First off, we have a lot of retrogrades going on. A lot of planets are retrograde, and if you follow astrology at all, you have already heard this. So understand this, in big picture, we're not going to have all of the planets moving forward again until February, March, and the first half of April. There's a tiny little bit at the end of January, but it takes a little while for them to really get rolling again. So be aware that from now until February, we're really working on energy that's about review and reflection, and keep that in mind. This is your beautiful time to do the inner work so that you're in full alignment with what you want in your life, for what you believe, for what you desire. That's what we're doing. Fully supported to do this stuff. I think it's really beneficial at this time of the year, especially when we start to do reflections for what do I want for the new year. Makes sense? Really supportive. The next thing we have going on is that Saturn and Uranus are dancing around together, and they're finishing out some activities they started back in 2021. So think of it this way. For the next couple of weeks of September, we're going to feel pretty expansive. We're going to feel expansive, and then we're going to feel contraction, because we've got the planet of expansion, Uranus. Then, basically we're going to hit some Saturn energy, which is structure and limitation. And then when the new moon comes along at the end of the month, we're going to have that flip. So we're going to be looking at a lot of energy that's about take a look at reality and the limitations and figure out what's going to work with you, and then you're going to feel expansion and freedom. So be aware that this is going to go on for the next few months, but specifically October, we're going to feel some energy movement, and we're going to start feeling movement even though we're in review and reflection. And then secondly, be aware that Saturn, which is the planet of supporting structure and discipline and people like to think of it as limitations. I always think of it as structure. Saturn's about putting structure to something. So as long as you have a massive dream, it sits in the ethers and it's huge. It can go anywhere. But Saturn takes it and makes it real. So it puts structure on it, which is and can be thought of as limitations. It's no longer in the ethers, which go everywhere. So it's about structure, discipline, energy, and focus. And we're going to have that energy supporting us until March. Okay, so that's the next big energy. So then we have Mars in Gemini, and it's going to stay with us through late March. And Mars, of course, is the planet of basically movement, but it's also thoughts, communication, imagination, and nervous system. So what I think is going to be happening with this energy is we're going to have a lot of thoughts, we're going to have big creative ideas, and we're also going to have a heightened nervous system. So we're going to be practicing how to balance this active nervous system, which happens with our thoughts. Our thoughts can get us really activated in our nervous system, and we're going to be balancing that with a higher state of being. Which response are you going to live in the world with? That's probably what Mars is here to help us really, really practice at this time. And I think if you really look at it from a big picture perspective, I'll tie this into the next point, which is with the Libra new moon at the end of this month, so at the end of September 25th-ish, we're going to see this new moon, and it's lining up massive support for new beginnings. And if you overlay that with Mars and Gemini, which is about creativity, communication, imagination, when you put these two things together, you can see how they're kind of working together energetically. And at the same time, when we have too much creative thought and we have too much free and open inspiration coming in, it triggers our nervous system. And generally what I see with people is that the trigger comes from feeling like overwhelmed from too many choices. How do I make the right decision? There's just too much going on in the mental realm. And so you need to find ways to listen to your own innate wisdom. So in my post, I talk about really, you can use meditation. It's really, really helpful to know your authority in human design and actually practice it, using it. Relying on your intuition is another strong way to bypass a lot of the thought, communication, mental processes, because it's helping you guide your thinking mind. So each of these things help guide your thinking mind. So keep in mind that this is another energy that we can take advantage of and work with and not have it take us over, if you will. And then we'll just go back to really briefly, this new moon is happening in such a way that is activating enormous long-term era level, kind of for the next era. It's about making the unmanifest manifest. It's about new beginnings and a lot of increased photonic light. And photonic light it's known for creating incredibly expansive energy, and it affects our nervous system and our thoughts and our lives. So be aware that that is being set up at the end of September, and that's going to go on. That's not something that just exists from this new moon to the next new moon. It's like a symbol crash where we're recognizing, it's like the beginning of the curtains have gone up on a new play, and the play is going to play out for a while. So what I want you to take away from all of this conversation with regard to astrology is it's guidance. It's giving you a sense of the energies that are moving, and then you can choose to really lean into the tools you've been teaching yourself and learning over time, how to use your intuition and listen to it, how to find your inner wisdom and follow it, how to really lean on the techniques and tools that you use, whether it's meditation or Reiki or moving meditation or physical exercise. It's going to really require us to stay in alignment with the higher potential of who we are. So, and then listen from that place. listen to the guidance that's available to you from that place. Okay, now let's take a look at the next level. So I'm going to give you 2 basic levels. We just covered sort of the astro energy and the energetic tone of our weather for, let's say, now through March, April, right? Now there is a bigger transition taking place that I haven't heard anybody talk about this, you guys. It all came in for me over the last couple of days. And so here's what I'm seeing. You've heard me talk about the changes from 3D to 5D and operating in a 5D world. So let's go ahead and get the language out there. We have 3D and we have 5D. We hear this spoken about. If you're on Instagram or Facebook or any place, you might have caught this language, and it is common to those of us who've been doing expanded consciousness work for a while. Now, for my purposes, 3D is going to mean old Earth. And 5D is going to mean new Earth. And we also have new Earth language out there. New Earth language is this idea about the new Earth that we have that is, I think, more of this idyllic picture of a reality where we are all in harmony and supportive, and we are living in a time when we don't have poverty, and we don't have filthy water, and we don't have violence and wars. And it's this idyllic reality that we talk about, but it is also a vibrational reality. And now I'm going to marry in something I spoke about in one of my earlier podcasts, but this idea of parallel universes. And what we're going to marry in for you is the new Earth reality, and the 5D reality we talk about is actually a reality that is a quantum reality. It comes from our understanding of quantum physics. And we don't sit around talking about this. Like, this isn't something we normally talk about. But when you put the pieces together, a quantum reality is a reality that has multiple realities. We're not separate, we are not linear, and consciousness is everywhere. So this is what I'm saying is New Earth, and it's also 5D. So I'm going to put all those together, which means Old Earth 3D is a Newtonian reality, which means there is one reality, it is linear, things are solid, and consciousness is contained in the brain. So there is one consciousness. There is the consciousness that I'm living. So I'm setting all this up because it has relevance to you. We need to understand that connection and that language, because it's easy to talk about 5D and New Earth and not really understand. It's sort of we kind of get it, but we haven't really thought about it. Well, that 5D New Earth reality is the reality where we understand ourselves as quantum beings and that are living in a quantum reality. Let me turn that into something concrete that you can understand. It means that we have an expanded consciousness, and it means that we're not linear, which means I can, through my intention and my consciousness, choose to visit a different of one of my lives. I can go into the past and heal my past. I can go into the future and heal my future. We have been doing this work for a while. If you've done any inner child work, you've done this. If you've done any past life regressions, you've done this. If you have worked with Reiki, you're working with quantum energy. So this isn't new. We've just never put these pieces together in this way, right? Mentally, I've not seen this constructed in this way. So let me tell you what this means for you. You have been through your awakening. These are the people I speak to. You've been through your awakening. You have been learning to know yourself as a powerful creator. You have been healing from trauma, and you've been working on all kinds of nervous system triggers. This is common to those of us who've been on our journey. You have a giant basket of tools that you have accessed or gotten training on. Meditation, Reiki, yoga, past life regression and healing, Akashic records, shamanic work, inner child healing, energy clearing. I mean, I myself have covered a lot of those. And then there are a whole bunch more modalities that are specific and people have received trainings on. You know what I'm talking about. This is you. Now, like me, you probably did it for a number of reasons, but the biggest reason I find is that it's not like you couldn't do it. It was almost a call to expand and explore and heal. There's a lot of the language of healing our stuff, healing our limiting beliefs, healing different parts of ourself. And really, this was coming from a deep desire for expansion of some kind. You probably wanted more happiness or more meaning or more ease, more abundance, more of your life aligning with your dreams and desires. This was an underpinning reason for this exploration, right? But what you've been doing through that entire healing expansion process is you have been teaching yourself how to live in a quantum reality. You didn't know this. I didn't know this. That's what we've been doing. We've been learning how to expand our consciousness. This happens in meditation. You've been learning to communicate with your guides. That's also you expanding into a broader consciousness. You've been learning to work with energy. You've been learning to use your intuition. Your intuition is completely accessing the non-physical realm, which is expanded consciousness. So what this means is you have been learning to live in a quantum reality. This is huge. So you've been learning essentially how to work with matter as a particle and as a wave. You can work with it when it's concrete and solid, and you can work with it when it is pure potential. I'm pausing just to say, can you feel how real this is? When you choose to meditate or when you choose to clear your energy and ground, you are working in quantum energy. That's amazing. I've never put those pieces together. They are so life-altering for me because the implications of this are enormous. What that means from a real-life human standpoint is that when you are working on something, like in my post, I explained that I'm working on unraveling a particular limiting belief about making myself small, like not wanting to be seen because that which I have to share is a little out there, and this concept of powerlessness, which goes all the way back through my ancestral line, comes from my mom. I mean, I can track this, right? So here we are again, me being very aware of where this comes from, and I'm moving in a expanded consciousness of multiple realities. And what I realize is that since it is true that I am working in a quantum reality and I am exploring how to unravel or address this limiting belief, the limiting belief that I'm wanting to address is existing in a Newtonian 3D old Earth reality. So, put those pieces together. I don't have to be addressing it in the same way that I was taught to address it anymore if I can understand that I'm in a quantum reality. I can basically alter the consciousness of that belief and have it not take precedence. It is no longer a solid, linear thing. I am a powerful creator. I am showing up in my light. I am capable of being all that I desire to be. And this limiting belief exists in a completely different consciousness, reality, and it's not the one that I'm choosing to exist in, because I choose to exist in the quantum reality. I choose to exist where there are limitless possibilities, where I can access my highest potential and move from there. Can you see how this awareness and this knowingness for ourselves can make the unmanifest manifest? Can you see how your journey of self-awareness has been taking you on this journey of learning how to live and exist in a quantum reality? This is enormous. This is huge. And it's simply an awareness. If you can perceive this awareness and begin to integrate it and begin to recognize when it is your thought patterns and your thought habits and emotion habits are taking you back into a limited, linear, 3D reality, you can change that thought pattern. You can bring yourself back out of a Newtonian reality and put yourself back into quantum reality. In the same way that we meditate, in the same way that we listen to our intuition, we're moving in that realm. This is really spectacular. So, I really believe that as intuitives and empaths, we have been searching for a way to live in harmony with the universe and in this expanded consciousness. And we are in the middle of the transformation of making that full switch. So I spoke earlier about what cicadas have to teach us about our transformation and growth. So we are a beetle, and at some point in time, we've transformed into a flying beetle that can sing. And we weren't really aware it was happening, and we're not fully aware that we are now the flying, singing beetle, but we are. That's how dramatically different our reality is. We do not have to crawl back in our shell, which is the limiting beliefs, once we're fully willing to accept and work within the quantum reality we've opened for ourselves. So that's my post for today. I would really like to invite you to consider joining me for Activate Emergence, which is my new program. We are doing this. That is what we're going to do over 6 weeks. We're going to align the energies, and we are going to practice what it is to live in a quantum reality, this expanded consciousness, through the act of doing your daily things within your work. So whatever's coming up, whatever thought patterns, whatever habits you have, whatever fears and limiting beliefs are active, we're going to retrain ourselves to experience our reality from a quantum reality. This is a longer experience of aligning our energy. So I'm making it sound like it's really simple, snap our fingers, but anytime we're moving larger energy for ourselves, there is an integration phase. And 6 weeks is the integration phase that I have been guided to work with. That is the period of time it's going to take to fully integrate the energies in the way that I am working with, and in the way that I'm being supported to work with. So if you're interested, please schedule a discovery call. I'm going to begin a new cohort on the 27th, and clearly I have the energy to continue because I'm feeling really good. This has been a great conversation with you all, and I will see you next week on Tuesday. Take care.